Hello, everyone. My name is Oleg Kagan, and I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for LA County Library. And I welcome you to New Technology and You. All right, that out of the way, let us get into today's program. And to do that, I'd like to introduce today's presenter. Connor Johnson is a MakeMo or Maker Mobile librarian for LA County Library, which means that he takes a colorful van and drives it all over LA County, presenting on STEAM topics, science, technology, engineering, and math and arts to everyone ages 5 through 99 and above. So at any given day, you might find him at a school, a park, a senior center, and many other locations. And today, Connor will be presenting on a topic of interest to many of us and of importance, I think, to all. Connor, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Oleg. And good morning, everybody. Just going to take a second to share my screen with you. All right. Great. So new technology and you is the topic today. So without a doubt, we're living through an era of rapid technological change that can be kind of scary and exciting. So our hope today is to put some of that into context for you and to also understand the broader historical implications of what's happening today and what might happen tomorrow. So technology is everywhere. It influences how we work, how we play, how we socialize with others, how we live our daily lives. Even if we're not adopting certain technologies, we're of course impacted by the technology that exists out in the world. We'll be going over some resources to help you look more into technology that's occurring, but it's not hard to find tech-related news. So we'll be taking a look at a lot of clippings and news headlines during today's presentation. And I want you to be encouraged that you can see what's going on in the world by just looking at the news, reading the news, watching the news. Look for tech headlines, see what's going on in the world around us, because it really does impact us in so many ways. And so just taking a look at a couple of those recent technology headlines from the last few months, technology is a huge field. Big things are happening every day, little things are happening every day. These particular headlines, I'll go ahead and read those out for you. So Lenexa Police Department using new technology to send text messages after 911 calls. The messages could include the status of officers on the way to the call, how to prepare for the arriving officers, and the case number of the report. So there's a technology that we're all used to. It's been around for a while, text messaging, being used in new ways to help the public, help our police system. Next headline is the algorithm. AI, artificial intelligence generated art, raises tricky questions about ethics, copyright, and security. And that article is from last September, and I've seen this come up again recently. So these are patterns, and they're going to continue to happen. Awareness is a big part of knowing what's going on out there. Just a couple more news headlines from recent. Arizona company using new technology to help solve water crisis, address world hunger. Researchers advance CRISPR technology to replicate human diseases with unprecedented accuracy. And we'll mention CRISPR again in a little bit, but that is the gene editing technology used by genetic engineers to splice our genome and look to cure diseases. Lots of positive possibilities from CRISPR. And here's just a few more examples of some new and emerging technologies. We see drones, smart home tech, wearable devices, 3D printing, virtual and augmented reality, cloud computing. Other innovations, of course, include the race for the first real self-driving car, advances in quantum computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning. We'll talk about a lot of those. And we'll only have time to talk about a few of them, we'll also be looking at the overarching context behind those advancements. So the technical transformation that's happening right now within these contexts is known as the fourth industrial revolution. So this was a term coined in 2016 by Klaus Schwab, an engineer, economist, and founder of the World Economic Forum. Before we get into what exactly we mean by the fourth industrial revolution, let's just take a quick video, look at a video about augmented reality, or AR, just to kick off our program today.
Design trends are a reflection of society and the events occurring in our world. After being stuck inside for a year and a half, we use digital tools and connect with each other virtually more than ever. Augmented reality and the metaverse is the next logical step in that digital interaction. The implications of this technology are exciting and terrifying. Regardless of whether you think this tech is good or bad, it will have a major impact on design and culture. Augmented reality, or AR, is a technology that superimposes a computer-generated image on a user's view of the real world. This can be done through a headset, a pair of glasses, a holographic display, or even with your phone. I think if I were to sum up the benefits of AR in one word, it would be context. Whether it's a digital overlay while performing spinal surgery or digital fashion that looks expressive and cool, augmented reality has the power to provide additional context to situations and environments. Imagine if the pattern on your clothing could actually move. Some things might be wildly uncomfortable or impractical to wear or use as physical objects, but that's not really a problem with augmented reality. You could use completely impractical digital materials or do insanely intricate patterns, or wear a digital fur coat in the middle of summer, or have a chair made out of flower petals sitting in your living room. You could have an entire living room full of blank white furniture and overlay different kinds of patterns and textures on them every month. There's very little pollution or waste when creating digital objects. Fast fashion and the creation of disposable objects has been incredibly harmful for the environment, and this move towards more digital design changes that. There's no fabric, there's no need to ship boatloads of clothes across the ocean, only to be thrown away by customers a few months later when they go out of style. AR is the tool that will be used to overlay style on top of the physical world.
So one of the things, and why I like starting out with that video, it also touches on the topic of sustainability. It's talking about the clothing and digital assets as opposed to physical assets. So that's an important part of the conversation about new technology as well. But what exactly is the fourth industrial revolution? We'll be talking about that. And then we'll talk about how those developments are impacting our world. We'll take a look at some of the challenges and controversies and other issues surrounding the fourth industrial revolution and this new technological age that we find ourselves in. And then finally, we'll take a look at the future of digital transformation and ways to stay up to date. So let's dive right in. First up, what is the fourth industrial revolution? So I like this succinct definition. It says the fourth industrial revolution is the current and developing environment in which disruptive technologies and trends, such as the Internet of Things or IoT, robotics, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence are changing the way modern people live and work. So I bolded disruptive technologies and trends. We'll be returning to that a few times. Let's first take a quick look at the first three industrial revolutions. So the first industrial revolution happened at the end of the 1700s, and that was brought about by the invention of the steam engine. The key feature here was mechanization. It ushered in new ways of transporting people and goods, having them work in factory systems with new machinery and tools. Next up, the second industrial revolution, which occurred just right after, was built off of the building blocks of the first industrial revolution, and its key feature was electrification. So electricity and petroleum were the new sources of energy, and combined with the invention of the internal combustion engine, it was a time of Ford and Tesla and mass production via assembly lines. So the next industrial revolution occurred this last century, is known as the digital revolution. kicked off in roughly 1947 with the invention of the transistor. And it was made by harnessing nuclear and renewable energy sources. It was also the birth of the internet. The official birthday of the internet is considered January 1st, 1983. And the first website was published in 1991. And just for some more context, then less than 2 decades later, we had the first smartphone in 2007. So all of these things build on each other, and it now leads us to the fourth industrial revolution. So the key feature here is digitalization. Within the established digital framework, we're seeing a convergence of technologies, digital, biological, and physical innovations coming together. Things are becoming more and more interconnected. So while the fourth industrial revolution is a huge topic, so we can't go into it all today, but there's a few key takeaways that I want to leave you with regarding the fourth industrial revolution. And that is, first, it's the convergence of many technologies built on a digital platform. It's the complete digital transformation of the entire consumer and industrial markets, made possible by deploying those smarter machines and devices. And it's driven by data that can be used to analyze our behaviors and predict future behaviors. And we'll be talking more about data and the role of data later. And then finally, it's cyber physical, meaning that it's going to combine or bridge the real and virtual worlds. So to help us make sense of these concepts, let's take a closer look at the technology known as the Internet of Things, or IoT. So you may have heard of this, and you maybe even own some IoT devices, but the Internet of Things is a network of interconnected devices that connect people to things, things to things, people to people, all kinds of cross convergence right there. So we see in these technologies, we see smart home security system that uses biometric recognition, like voice or facial recognition. We have, the iris to unlock phones, stuff like that. Our wearable health devices are becoming, smarter, more personalized, able to give us personal health benefits. They're not just tracking our activities, they're tracking our sleep, our heart rate, all these kinds of things. And these internet connected devices feed into a digital platform. They can be controlled from your smartphone, like your home security devices. They can also be operated remotely, so outside of your hands, but by somebody else. So a lot of these Internet of Things are for our homes, refrigerators that know what's inside them, but we also have industrial Internet of Things. And one of the things that we're seeing is the changing of factory and farming equipment. And we see copy machines that know when toner is low and when can automatically order some more. And we'll go over the farming and factory equipment in just a few minutes. But by 2025, forecasters believe that there are going to be more than 75 billion devices connected worldwide. So the Internet of Things is just, if it can be connected to the internet, that's almost guaranteed that it will be at some point if it hasn't already. So just things to keep in mind. And that phrase again, the impacts and disruptions from the definition of the fourth industrial revolution. So let's talk about that. The internet is becoming more ubiquitous through these physical objects. But what does all this mean? So in the case of this definition, disruption is meaning more about significant change. It can have a negative context, but that's what we're talking about, that it is severely impacting societal trends. In the last few years, we've already seen that happen with rideshare services, disruptions in the transportation sector with ride-sharing apps like Uber and Lyft, And in the travel and accommodations, we see Airbnb changing things. These are all new ways to implement our digital internet and its abilities, and it's disrupting sectors everywhere. Um, if we've been looking at the news headlines again recently with ChatGPT, and and worries about plagiarism and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this stuff is happening right now today, and it's really interesting. Um, so next up, we're going to watch a second short video, and this is going to be about disruptions to the farming industry. So let's go ahead and watch that short video now.
This is the first farm on Mars. Okay, technically it's not on Mars. It's Wyoming. So, close enough. Anyway, it could be on Mars, because this is one of the world's most advanced indoor farms. And it could be the future of farming right here on Earth. With vertical farming, you can start with a building roughly the size of a Costco, grow your crops up and down instead of around you on the floor, ditch the pesticides, recycle the water, and you can grow pretty much anywhere, anytime. Why do this? Well, look at this. It's all of the farmland in the world. All of that used to be nature.
It is probably one of the most defining acts of humanity. We literally changed the ecosystem of the entire planet in order to meet our dietary needs. Plants today produce roughly what they produced 10, 20 years ago. We've just managed to pack more of them into a field. And there is a limit to that type of yield gain. Our job is to build the farms that unlock nutrition for everyone on a scale that no one's ever seen. And the only way we can do that now is by growing indoors.
Indoors? Don't you need sunlight and rain to grow the world's food? Maybe not. This is Hard Reset, a series about rebuilding our world from scratch. Historically, vertical farming has been too expensive and too inefficient to make it a better option than traditional farming. But that's all changing now as these technologies drop in price.
Humanity is on that cost curve right now. We just don't realize it, right? We're riding this cost curve down to a future where almost anything is possible in an extremely controlled environment.
That's not to say one of these vertical farms is cheap. A new facility can cost $100 million to install. But the cost of each component is plummeting as industries like solar and robotics are flourishing. But the surprising technology that's helped make this possible is LEDs, what vertical farms use to replicate the sun. Let's break that down.
Our system is just a system of energy transfers. And our ability to manage the efficiency of those energy transfers in some way or another is what makes us economical or non-economical as a business. It sounds crazy, but like most everything in the world, right? Like, we can only save our species if it makes economic sense. Life and death. Let's make sure that we can afford it, right?
Right. Nate gets it.
Right. So that was about vertical farming, and again, touching on sustainability and the future. And just very interesting stuff. Also, just really cool stuff going on. Let's look at disruptions in the healthcare industry and medicine. So we saw how AR in the first video we watched is impacting medicine. So with minimally invasive surgeries, the surgeons can look at the inside of a patient's body parts using augmented reality technology. And just as a reminder, the augmented reality transposes a digital picture onto the real world, like the Pokemon Go with the graphic on the screen right there. That's an example of augmented reality. So similar to virtual reality, but different. So AR can help with surgical innovations. Scientists are also advancing bionic technology to help remove physical barriers. And bionic technology, meaning that a construction of artificial systems that have some of the features of living systems. So with prosthetics and things like that, they're getting very advanced. Another potential game changer is nanotechnology, which deals in extremely tiny dimensions. Nanobots, nanorobotics are a promising field where theoretical implementation could be putting nanoprobes, nanobots into patients themselves for medical intervention. Just lots of exciting things happening. Other developments include CRISPR technology, which we mentioned earlier, could have profound, far-reaching consequences for individuals and also for the whole species. And as we're thinking of large-scale disruptions, let's consider the impacts that all of these things that are happening on the workforce, because that's a big part of what is going to be impacted. So skills and the workforce. Experts, researchers, are saying, and they're looking at past trends and past times that there have been technological changes, advances in automation and subsequent restructuring of the labor market is going to disrupt that market severely. The majority of lower skilled jobs are likely to be eliminated. However, there's also going to be a boon in services that are going to be needed to create and maintain all of these other technological advancements. So such as automation, engineering, control system design, machine learning, software engineering. There's going to be new jobs, new careers in fields that we don't even imagine now, that we can't even think about. So we'll be talking about this again when we discuss the digital divide between people and communities with access to these skills and learning these skills to prepare for the upcoming changes, and those without, which is another part of the Industrial Revolution, is that digital divide. But first, let's take a step back again and look at the Fourth Industrial Revolution as a whole concept. So with everything that we do, every button we press, every YouTube link that we click, everything that we do that's connected to the internet, all of this data is being compiled and it's being used by companies. So let's take a look at the role of big data. Sorry, let me just wake up my room. Got that light on a timer. So just to put it succinctly, data is the new oil. We've all probably heard of big data, even if we don't really understand or know what that means. It's been in the news with issues like Facebook, social media companies, use our data. These are free services, right? So they use the data that we provide them. They collect it and profit off of it. This is big data today. So big data analytics, they analyze that data, what our behaviors are. But within the framework of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, data is literally and figuratively hardwired into the process. I mean, it's basic marketing, with data being the commodity. Predictive analytics use powerful statistical algorithms to analyze and draw inferences from past behaviors, from patterns in data, in order to predict future behavior, future decisions. We see it again on the social media sites like Amazon. They look at past purchases or past videos that we watched and try to predict the best shopping experience or videos to watch for the future. So this is all happening. It's all transactional in the background. And it's just scratching the surface of the role of big data, but it also tends to bring up other similar issues like privacy and other ethical considerations. So let's take a look at that. So challenges, controversies, and considerations. So this is a good time to bring in artificial intelligence. Another thing that has been in the news recently, very, very recently, with everything going on. So according to Britannica, artificial intelligence is the ability of a digital computer or robot to perform tasks commonly associated with intelligent beings or people. So the major branch of AI that attempts to accomplish this is machine learning, which focuses on the use of, again, data and algorithms to imitate the way that humans behave and how they learn. But we do have to wonder, and people are asking, who's writing the algorithms, what data is being fed, again, to bring up the AI generated art, the original artists whose work was fed into the learning systems, might have a different outlook or opinion on it than the end user who's creating art digitally using AI. It's all happening right now, and I don't think anybody really knows what the future is going to be exactly in regards to that. But it's happening, and it's important. It's important to know, even if you or I aren't artists. And ethical considerations and concerns about reducing bias in technology is nothing new. If you are a fan of AI driven science fiction, you know that these are often utopian societies or dystopian, depending on the outlook of AI. Regardless, it's all very interesting, and it's important to be aware of. Consider this headline here, and I have seen a lot like it. This was just one of them. These robots were trained on AI. They became racist and sexist. As billions flow into robotics, researchers who conducted the study are concerned about the effects this might have on society. So right now, computers can perform very complex tasks, but the potential of quantum computing, which is another part of the fourth industrial revolution, quantum computing is going to increase computing power just exponentially. It opens the door for further advancements. I keep saying it's all very exciting. It is, but you know what? There's things to be aware of. As we've been discussing. So with all the rapid changes happening around us, it's really important not to forget the human factor. I came across this quote and I really liked it. Interconnected computers, smart materials, and intelligent machines communicate with one another, interact with the environment, and eventually make decisions with minimal human involvement. So the ethical debate about people in technology, it's not a new one, but it's a topic that's going to continue into the future. And just so for some more reference, here's some more headlines. So should Rhode Island ban police from using robots or robot dogs? Bill gets hearing this week. Drones, robots, license plate readers, police grapple with community concerns as they turn to tech for their jobs. Emerging technologies are helping police officers do more with less, but concerns about privacy and discrimination are complicating matters. And some other headlines: forging a future with ethical AI. As algorithms become more prevalent and more advanced, what ethical issues should companies using AI be aware of? Then senators petition ICE to curtail Orwellian use of facial recognition surveillance technology. So the rapid deployment of these advanced technologies often happens faster than society and our norms can adjust and keep up. Civil liberty groups are already hard at work trying to make sure that technology doesn't overrun humans and that they don't threaten civil liberties. So it's just another important aspect of the discussion. And we have a final video. We already brought up the digital divide, and this video will do a good job of explaining what that means and how it relates to the impending disruptions in our workforce.
We are creating a divide in our society between those who are part of the new economy and those who are not able to join in there.
What we learned from past episodes of technological change is a lot of jobs being replaced by technology, but the long-term benefits for the next generations can be immense.
It's really important that people are open to want to learn. They're open to being upskilled themselves, because the reality is what we don't want is to leave a whole swathe of society behind.
It's not a training expense anymore. It's an investment for the future.
Upskilling is a global issue because technology is pervasive. It just turns out it's slightly different from place to place.
Everybody is affected by this transformation. Therefore, we have to work out a strategy.
If we embrace upskilling, if we take ownership for ourselves, I do think we can write the narrative for what the future looks like.
Our jobs are changing, and fast, creating uncertainty and challenges for the future.
The biggest societal challenge is the future of work, as well as what is the workforce of the future and the implications to a country's citizens in terms of whether there's opportunities for them in the future.
According to our estimates, roughly 47% of jobs are at risk of being automated over the forthcoming decades. And as a result of that, we could potentially see rising income disparities, as we've seen during past technological revolutions when old jobs disappeared as well. The Industrial Revolution caused enormous disruption for people who lived through it as their jobs and incomes disappeared. And I think we are at a similar time in history where we're seeing a lot of jobs being replaced by technology.
People are governed by their fears at the moment. By 2 to 1, they think that the pace of innovation is too fast. 4 out of 5 actually believe that their economic circumstances are going to be worse 10 years ahead. And it goes down to, I basically am afraid that machines are going to take my job.
What we don't want is to leave a whole swathe of society behind, which will create much bigger disparity than there is today in the world. You can't protect jobs, but you can protect people. And you have a responsibility to protect people and provide them with the right skills and the right training to enable them to be successful within your organization.
So what are some of the social risks if we ignore the challenges of automation?
In its early days, technological change always brings disruption. So that means the old disappearing, new type of jobs being created. And in its early days, it also means that inequality can rise as a result of that, because we see that it takes time for people to acquire new skills to move into new productive sectors of the economy. And that can potentially also bring about a period of social unrest.
It will harm our economies because we are not able to transform our economies, our companies, but also our public services enough and rapidly enough.
Key to preparing everyone to live and work in a digital world will be upskilling. But what do we mean by upskilling?
Upskilling is about preparing people for a technology-based future. That has both to do with enhancing the skills people have in a digital world and increasing their capacity to be good citizens and good leaders, and actually increasing our ability to understand what's happening to ourselves and manage it effectively.
Now, what we're not saying is that everybody needs to be a data scientist, but what we are saying is that actually, in order to survive, not thrive, but just survive in the future of work, you really need to understand the implications that technology have, and you need to be able to work with technology in a way to make it more meaningful.
So a lot to unpack in that video. I really like it. You know, it does show that, you know, there are changes coming. You know, they're already here, and they're going to continue to change. And being aware of those, you know, is going to be half the battle. So the final challenges we'll look at within the fourth industrial revolution are privacy and security issues. And of these, of course, these are inherent in any kind of digital storage or communication. So we already deal with a lot of these issues today. You know, we're all aware of cybercrime and the threat of hacking, but the Internet of Things and the plethora of new devices being connected to the internet is going to create just additional challenges. You know, in addition to possibly stealing data and passwords, you know, hackers could access your car remotely, unlock your home if it's you know, smart device or smart locked. You know, we've seen recent issues with consumers being unable to change all alter their own smart thermostats because they're being operated remotely. And as we again move away from passwords and biometric authentication, we're going to need new technologies, new ways of securing things. It's all kind of just a feedback loop, and it's just going to continue to get more advanced and more nuanced. And just a couple final headlines going over some of these issues. So researchers unveil smart lock hack for fingerprint theft. An academic researcher demonstrated how IoT smart locks could become tools for attackers to covertly steal fingerprints and potentially access more sensitive personal data. Family's terrifying discovery after dad wakes up to find baby monitor scanning the crib and bedroom. After watching it slowly scan the room, he looked directly at the camera. It turned off immediately after it saw him looking at it. And third, 22,000 smart thermostats in Colorado locked over energy emergency, sparking outrage. And then an unfixed, untraceable hack can unlock and start your Honda remotely. The security research resembles research published earlier this year, but new demonstrates even broader vulnerability within the car's key fob. And then finally, medical devices are a weak link in hospital cyber defenses, putting patients in the crossfire. So these are all troubling, but everything's not all that bad. Let's just put aside these issues for now and wrap things up as we briefly consider what the future might hold. So the future of digital transformation, it promises just enormous progress and the potential for future generations to enjoy advancements that we haven't even dreamt possible. We've seen that there are opportunities for sustainability, equity, being equitable, and being aware of the digital divide. The video we watched about upskilling, reducing bias in the implementation of technology. And then, of course, we can even look further and think, what about the fifth industrial revolution? Is that going to happen in any of our lifetimes? If it can even be conceived of at this time, what is it going to look like? Actual AI, quantum computing, nobody really knows. And I just want to leave these just two final headlines. What are quantum resistant algorithms and why do we need them? When quantum computers become powerful enough, they could theoretically crack the encryption algorithms that keep us safe. The race is on to find new ones. And supersized AIs are truly intelligent machines, just a matter of scale. Gigantic neural networks that write with remarkable fluency have led some experts to suggest that scaling up current technology will lead to human-level language abilities and ultimately true machine intelligence. Just kind of look at things to come. And if you want to stay up to date, there's lots of ways to do that. I've already shown a lot of news headlines, just easy to come across. For more specific online information about these kinds of issues, there's Wired magazine, all about technology is changing aspects of our lives. Tech Radar is also a good website that you can visit. And everybody will get copies of these slides, so you can have access to these links when you receive that next week. The Tech Radar is a source for tech buying advice. We also have TechCrunch, reporting on the business of technology startups, Silicon Valley, and Digital Trends, which is a consumer help, finding the best products and services. And again, these are just a few. You can pretty much go online and look for all kinds of tech magazines and websites to help you stay up to date. For even further resources, of course, LA County offers a lot of resources and material that will help you out, both with learning about the fourth industrial revolution, new technology, as well as being mindful and keeping with the concept of upskilling, again, from that last video. These are a couple of the books that we have available for our catalog. And we also have a lot of courses, LinkedIn Learning. These are, of course, all free with your library card, about the fourth industrial revolution itself, as well as the skills. We have Gale courses, and other platforms to help you learn the skills. If you're worried about the future, and the elimination of certain job sectors, something that's, really important to be aware of as we move forward. But I think the most important thing is to take some time and think about how it's going to impact you and your loved ones. Maybe have a conversation with them. A good start might be some of the resources that I went over. But keep an eye on local issues as well. Things about the adoption of certain technologies by certain sectors, in policing or drones being used, in that regard. Make your voice heard if that's something that matters to you, if that's something that you care about. It's really the people behind the technology. It's not the technology itself that's usually good or bad. I just leave you with that invitation to really think about it. Make your voices heard. And that's the topic I have for you today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it now back over to Oleg, and we'll do a Q&A session where hopefully we'll be able to answer any questions that you might have about this really huge and far-reaching topic. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen now.
Thanks, Connor. Indeed, what does the digital transformation mean to you? Yeah, it's a great question. There are things that in fact affect all of us. So we had a question in the chat from before, and this is a question that is important, but also one that we can answer with some confidence. Do you have recommended resources for upskilling?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, lacountylibrary.org, and even, more specific, lacountylibrary.org/learn is going to be our direct link to a lot of our online learning platforms, all kinds of digital learning there, coding, software engineering, anything that you can think of. There's tons of free courses that are available with your library card.
Yeah. So yeah, if you go to lacountylibrary.org/learn, yeah, there's so much available there. And I mean, it really depends on what you're interested in learning for us to give you any kind of very useful recommendation, because depending on what you're learning, how much time you have, all of that kind of stuff. In fact, we have a class on this, using library resources and beyond to learn. And we can post that in the follow-up email, so that you have a direct link to that.
And yeah, and just also, they're from 20-minute videos all the way to 6-week courses, so you can take a bite-sized look, or learn at your pace, however you're interested in. There's going to be something there that will be hopefully of benefit to you.
So the next question is, does your library system have hands-on device coaching for seniors?
Hands-on device coaching. We are in the middle of I'm trying to implement some classes back using laptops and other devices specifically for seniors. I don't know, Oleg, you might have something more to say on that.
So I know that there are libraries all over the county that are doing digital literacy courses. So not exactly like this one, but similar. And so you can go to our website and look for digital literacy events. You can actually click on computers and technology, and it'll tell you all of the computer related events that we have. But whether we have hands-on device coaching, that's another question. It's a complicated one, because there are some libraries that have one-on-one appointments you can set up with librarians, and that may be possible with some of the librarians in our system. That would just be something that you need to ask individuals if they have the knowledge to help you with your device specifically. The challenge is that there are so many different types of devices out there, so many different types of phones and laptops, that just saying, come one, come all will definitely be able to help you with your device is is opening ourselves up to the possibility that the people come in with devices that we've never seen before, with operating systems that we've never seen before, and we would not be able to confidently help. So the answer to that question is, do we have hands-on coaching for seniors? Kind of, partially. I would check with your closest library, give them a call and ask them if they can help you with your device, because there might be somebody on staff who's able to sit with you for a few minutes, or 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and help you do whatever you need to do. So we're advancing with digital transformation. If we want to move into these particular industries, are there any certifications or training that we should use that would lead to a career? While my background is technology adjacent, I don't have a programming background. That really depends on the specific career that you're, specific path that you're interested in. There are certifications, various certifications related to technology, but to be able to answer that question, we need something a little bit more specific. And if you want to email us afterward, you can respond to the follow-up email. We can try to help you look up something that's specific to what you're interested in or what your skills do cover.
And just to add to that, if and even if you might not be certain either, a good thing to do would be to browse our learning courses and see if there's anything that is interesting, or look up, look more into the idea behind the fourth industrial revolution and the changes that are coming. I mentioned a few fields, like the programming and things of that nature. But it might be something that interests you, from scratch. But just like Oleg said, it's going to depend on your circumstances. So we'll help you if we can.
Are you aware of a class on using ChatGPT for absolute beginners? No, but using ChatGPT is really easy. It doesn't even require a class. It's really just a chatbot. So you open it up and you can ask it questions. I can show you what it looks like. Connor, should I just share my screen and show folks what chat?
Sure.
Sometimes it's not up, but sometimes if it's being used by a lot of people, it doesn't work. So hopefully it'll be up this time. I'm just gonna show you how to do it.
Cool.
So let me see. I'm going to share my browser screen. So here is my browser, and I'm just going to type in ChatGPT in my URL bar. So I'm just going to type in ChatGPT here, and I've been to ChatGPT before, so it automatically will load this chat.openai.com/chat, which is a direct link. And I had already signed in before because I use ChatGPT every so often. So I thought I might be showing it to you guys. So I had already signed in.
I was just going to add that you do have to register. You do have to provide an email address, but that's it.
I use my Gmail account. I just use my Google account to sign in. So, I mean, for me, it's basically just a click. So this is ChatGPT. This is really it. I've had many conversations with ChatGPT about different questions. So you ask a question here and it'll answer questions for you. So, I mean, if you want to post in the chat, if you want to suggest a question for me to ask ChatGPT, go ahead and put that in the chat. I'm happy to ask your questions to the chatbot. I'm gonna give a moment, and then I'll ask the questions. Oh, I know there's a question here that, will this webinar be available for listening on demand? Yes. So we're gonna post this on our YouTube channel next week, and you'll get a follow-up email with a video link. So absolutely. Anybody have any questions, suggestions that I should ask ChatGPT? Because I'm going to make up the questions myself if you don't give me any suggestions. I have a problem with squirrels eating plants in my garden. How do I fix that? So it says squirrels can be a common problem for gardeners, as they are known to dig up and eat bulbs, seedlings, and even mature plants. Here are a few suggestions for keeping squirrels out of your garden. I'm just going to summarize. Use physical barriers. Use repellents. That's number 2. Number 3, plant squirrel-resistant plants.
Oh, this is pretty comprehensive.
It is. Yeah, it gives you, I mean, the answers it gives are relatively long, sometimes too long. So it gave a pretty decent answer to this question. So somebody else had mentioned to ask, let's see, how ChatGPT can be applied in medicine and pharmacy. I can ask ChatGPT that. Let's see what happens. I mean, it may or may not be able to give a great answer for that, but let's find out. How can ChatGPT be applied in the fields of medicine and pharmacy? Let's see what it says. So it's really good with questions like this. It does a great job with giving you kind of a general answer. Now, it's not always as good with some other applications. So for instance, it's not great at giving me book lists. I've asked it for right over here, Russian soccer novels list. I wanted some novels in Russian that are about soccer. And it can speak Russian, so ChatGPT can speak other languages. And it has some information about different things around the world. So it has it's trained on information from before 2021, I believe, and it has a fairly large, I mean, it's a very large corpus of information. But when it gave me Russian soccer novels, it made them up. So basically, some of them it gave me they were real authors, but the novels weren't real. They didn't exist. So it gave me what it thought I would like to see, and it even gave summaries for those novels. But then when I looked them up, they didn't actually exist. So it does things like that, what they call hallucinating in the parlance. So it's not a human. It's not a conscious entity. So it's not really lying. It's just making up what it thinks I would like to see. And it does that in other ways as well. So let me see here. So let's look at this, what it says here. How can ChatGPT be applied for fancy? So medical diagnosis and treatment, drug discovery, patient education, drug interaction checking, electronic health records. So it can, so you can use this. Anybody here can use this for free, and you can ask it any question you want. You're not going to always get the answers that you're looking for, not always get great answers, and you have to be on guard that it sometimes makes things up just because of the way that it works. So ChatGPT is a language model, and what it does is predicts very quickly then statistically the next most likely word that would be in a sentence. So when it writes this as a large language model can be applied. So each of these is the most what it thinks is the most likely statistically accurate word that is going to be in the next sentence. And because it was trained so diligently and so much, it's very good at predicting what the next most likely word is. But it doesn't really know anything. It's a statistical model. I mean, it's a large language model that uses statistics and is trained by humans as well. So it's not just math. I mean, it's also trained by people, and answers are rated. So it gives, it's trained that way too. But when it sometimes does weird stuff, like when I've asked it to give me novels from 1950 to 2000, a list of novels, it gave me novels that totally didn't fit the criteria that I wanted, from a different year, and it even said what year was published. It was wrong, and any human can see that. But ChatGPT, for some reason, was not able to discern that. So there's definite limits to what it can do. But let's go ahead and get, so this is what ChatGPT looks like. It's just a chat. You can type things into the box. Somebody had asked in the chat, how is this different from Google search? The main difference is that Google search is an information retrieval system for websites. So it now has a knowledge graph, so it gives you answers, sometimes on the right-hand side or in the middle, it'll give you an answer, particularly if you're doing math problems, things like that, or you want to know something about a specific place or a person, it'll give you a little doodad. It pulls from the web a little doodad giving you information about that person. But this ChatGPT is not an information retrieval system for websites. It's a language model. So it's trained on a corpus of text, literature, websites, etc. But its job is not to retrieve websites for you. Google's job is to retrieve websites for you. So they have different functions. Not only that, but this is a chatbot, so it uses natural language to respond to you, whereas Google gives you a list of websites. All right, so let me go and stop sharing. Let me see what else we got. Connor, this is your program, so you're gonna answer more. I've been on about ChatGPT for a while.
You have used ChatGPT way more than me, so that was perfectly fine.
I have used it a lot. I think it's pretty cool, but I think it has a long way to go as well. Yes. And I know Google just released Google Bard, not for the public yet, just for beta testers. And Microsoft has folded ChatGPT into Microsoft, into its search engine Bing, so people can try that out as well. And there's some other chatbots that are out there that are pretty interesting. But so let me see. Let's see what we got here. Just looking for other questions. Just scrolling in the chat to see what I missed when I was waxing. I don't know about poetic, when I was waxing informative about ChatGPT. All right. Okay, so let's see. Vertical farming is being used in the US only or in other countries?
I would imagine it's being adopted, worldwide, wherever there's the business aspect. I think the video said it costs $100 million to start one of these. So it's not going to be easily accessible, to most people. But you can bet that there's startups all over. And I would assume, all over the world. Farmland is as we saw in the video, it's limited. Vertical farming is very exciting, and as costs do continue to come down, I think that we're going to be seeing that a lot more. Not only maybe some of these office spaces that are going unused with pandemic changing a lot of work. Work from home, maybe some of those can be converted to smart vertical farming spaces. You never know.
Yeah, it's an area that's on the move. So we had this question, we had actually asked this question to ChatGPT, and he gave us an answer. What do you think are the possible impacts of uses of AI on medicine and pharmacy? Yeah, there's a variety, and ChatGPT covered some of them, but more specifically, there's been lots of research on training AI or training computers, software to, for instance, interpret radiological scans, so interpreting X-rays and other kind of CAT scans, PET scans, etc., MRIs, to look for specific things. So the AI is trained on millions of options, and then it kind of starts to sort them, and it gives you it can see things that sometimes a human can't see. So that's one thing, but there's quite a lot. Medicine and pharmacy is such a fertile ground for AI to assist, but also, there's risk involved, like you said. There's ethical considerations anytime we're talking about AI. That was an important part of Connor's presentation. So I don't know if you had anything to add to that, Connor.
Yeah, I was thinking my head was what you said with diagnoses, and they're taught to find patterns that we as humans can't see. So if there's patterns in certain test results, and you can get a faster more effective diagnoses. I mean, that's great. Yeah, lots of and yeah, and AI definitely part of it, and the augmented reality, all of it. It's and the bionics, the convergence of all of these, the technology base, the biology base, the digital base, just all coming together, like prosthetic arms that can offer tactile feedback and senses. It's all very exciting, and yes, it's a wide breadth. There's a lot that is happening in the field of medicine, and all of the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution. Just so much happening.
That actually covers what's close to what the next question would be, is how does new technology affect longevity? Longevity.
As in
living longer.
Lifespan?
Yeah,
Oh,
lifespan.
yeah. I mean, just yeah, all of the above, and if we have, technologies that are finding, finding diseases and issues early, and then, the potentials for augmented reality surgery, or someday nanobots, going in and removing the cancer from your body. I mean, that's amazing to think about, that could be on the horizon. And CRISPR, editing genes to on an individual basis, and species wide. These are huge technologies. That's why I kept saying these are exciting times. That it really is, and it's just such a far-reaching concept and ideas behind the fourth industrial revolution, and all of these technologies coming together. I can't claim to be an expert. I do my research, and I find the topics fascinating, and so I come across them on my own time as well. But there's just so much out there. It would be impossible to stay on top of it all. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh yeah,
very promising.
There's certainly a lot of research going into how to live longer. It's something that people are absolutely interested in, and there's money going to that type of research. So this was a question that somebody had wanted us to ask to ChatGPT. How do I draw with AI? So ChatGPT doesn't do that. ChatGPT is a purely text-based machine. I mean, it's a purely text-based engine. So ChatGPT would say, well, I can't help you with that, but and it may not be able to even suggest for you the specific websites that will help you draw with AI, because ChatGPT's corpus was pre-2021 and before. So it may not be able to give you updated information on that. So, I mean, we can say, how do I draw with AI? It really depends on what you're interested in drawing, like the assistance that you would like from AI to draw. So there are systems like DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, and several others that have come to the forefront that will draw something for you based on a prompt. So you can give it a style, kind of a genre of art, and text to like tell it what to draw, or kind of a prompt to give it a sense of what you might be interested in, and then it'll create an image for you. Sometimes following your prompt, sometimes kind of improvising on your prompt. Those can be pretty interesting. But yeah, Connor, you talked about those earlier in the presentation. The drawing, how
the AI generated art.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, really controversial in the art field right now. I can definitely see both aspects of it. The artist whose work was inputted, and there are concerns that I was just reading about how it's so images are being, so huge data file dumps are put into the machine learning aspect. So it's studying Van Gogh, so that if you say I want to a dog lying by a fireplace in the style of Van Gogh. You know, you can imagine there's probably gonna be lots of swirls and stuff like that. But there's also the worry and that a single image, that if it's retained in the learning database, that it might actually produce like a possibly copyrighted image. It wouldn't be AI generated at all. It would just be taken from you know, the hundreds of thousands of images and data sets that it's been fed. And so I've seen stuff on that. So there are very real concerns about, you know, plagiarism and artistic, you know, I mean, it really gets to the heart of, you know, what is art and creativity, and is it a uniquely human expression? I don't know. You know, I mean, we have computers doing everything else. You know, art seems, you know, our art seems, you know, pretty understandable to be added to things that we can generate with machines. Is there a future for it? We'll see. You know, I think there will be. You know, I think if we look at it from all kinds of sides, you know, small startups or single people, or people going into business, you know, and they need to create you know, they would need like a team of people to create their brand or their logo or their marketing material. But now there's, you know, there's a possibility that you can go into business and not have to hire a whole team of people to produce the, you know, the assets that you need for your business. I think that's really exciting. And I think that as everything else, you know, I think that as time goes on and we'll see new norms emerge, no one's going to be 100% happy, you know, either way, because we all have different opinions and different ways of looking at things, and the way that, you know, the way that we think things should be, or the, you know, fairness and those kinds of things. But I don't think that AI art is going to stop anytime soon. I think it's going to become more pervasive, and we'll probably be getting, you know, the legal system is going to play catch up. You know, we'll get some more copyright issues out of it. These are all far-reaching effects. You know, I can only see that. I think that they're happening. How that's going to look and what form that's going to take, we'll see. It's exciting to be in the middle of seeing how things, you know, pan out. I think
truly.
I think that it's definitely an interesting time we live in.
It is. I mean, my personal opinion, when it comes to AI generated art, poetry, etc., that it's not going to be replacing human art wholesale. The reason is because I think people like to see the creativity of other people. And so that's important. It's similar to something, well, in some ways, it's similar to something like chess, where chess computers are very, very good. At this point, chess computers are outstanding. They can beat most people in the world. The strongest chess computer can beat most people in the world, if not everybody. And yet, chess is still flourishing. People still love to play chess, and there are still human tournaments of chess, even though we know that that it's superfluous. Well, this computer can beat these people. We still watch humans. We still like to play chess, even though you know, it's like we still play tic-tac-toe, even though tic-tac-toe is solved. Tic-tac-toe, everybody knows, but we still play it because it's fun. So I think there's that aspect as well. I think that the chess computers have affected how chess is played. It helps grandmasters and regular people train and become better at chess as human beings, though, not as computers. We don't pretend to be computers. So it has an effect, but it doesn't replace. So I think it's probably going to be somewhat similar with art. So we had a question. I think this was a question for ChatGPT. What is the weather in Los Angeles today? And ChatGPT would not have been able to answer that question for you because, of course, its corpus is earlier. But that's actually, that kind of question is something that run-of-the-mill digital assistants can answer. So like, you know, your phone, like when you come Siri and Google Assistant can basically tell you that kind of information, because the weather in Los Angeles is what in library parlance we'd call like a ready reference question. It's something that you can just look up really easily. It's not something that requires a lot of research. And computers at this point, information retrieval systems, are really outstanding at getting us that kind of information. So ChatGPT, I think, goes beyond that, and in the future will be able to incorporate those kind of things. But yeah, for today, it wouldn't have been able to answer that question. Somebody asked, what does ChatGPT stand for? I actually have an answer for that. It's a generative preemptive transformer, or pre-trained transformer, or something like that. Let me double check, because I had looked it up. I know generative is the first word. Oh yeah, that's right. So it stands for generative pre-trained transformer. It's a fancy way of saying language model.
That would not have been my first guess.
No, it's not the most exciting. It's not the most exciting acronym. I mean, like the most exciting thing. But yeah, I guess that's what it's called. And there's other models for ChatGPT, and even OpenAI, which is the company that creates ChatGPT, even it has other models that it uses that have different names. Some of them more, less exciting. I don't know. This is a question that doesn't have to do with ChatGPT. In fact, this is a question that has something totally different. How do I get a QR code to work for shopping at Vons? Well, QR codes, it depends on what it means. Yeah, go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, QR codes can just if you open your phone's camera and you just put it over the QR code, and that will open the links to those QR codes, making sure all four corners are in frame. So if you're at like the store and there's QR codes for coupons or information about the product, just point your phone at it. And I don't think you have to. Yeah, you don't have to press take a picture. It will. Your phone is being used as a scanner in that case.
Yeah. So on Android, you have to open, at least on my phone, you have to open up Google Photos, or you have to open up your camera and then slide over to Google Lens. And then the Google Lens, and then you put it over the QR code, and it'll give you the web address that the QR code goes to.
Okay. Yeah, and in Android,
usually tap it.
You just use like the regular camera has always worked for me. I guess on iPhone.
Yeah, it depends on the phone, but yeah, it's sometimes you have to do something a little extra, but most of the time the cameras will. It's now a built-in feature in any popular phone. Are there any groups or trade organizations or other meetups that we could utilize? The answer is yes, absolutely. But I require a little bit more research to figure out which ones would be ideal for you. There are trade organizations, I mean, industry-specific organizations. There are hobby groups. Absolutely, yes. People are really interested in this stuff. Do you know of any specific ones, Connor?
I don't. No, not novel question. Yeah.
It's a good question. I think again, it really requires a little bit more digging as to what exactly you're interested. Because the fourth industrial revolution is pretty big. I mean, we didn't talk about blockchain here, but there's blockchain. There's that focusing on that. There's focusing on training AI and machine learning. There's focusing on agriculture aspects like the vertical farming, things like that, like food production. There's so many areas to look at when it comes to this new technology as an all-encompassing kind of umbrella. Yeah, there's plenty of organizations that focus on that. Let's see. So can you explain 3D printing and the capabilities? This is a special interest for you, Connor.
Yeah. I love our 3D printers here in the office. So most people have heard of 3D printing in the last 10 or so years, and that's because they've gotten costs down to be able to bring it into consumer printing. What 3D printing is referring to is there's filament, which is basically it's usually like plastic, or there's all kinds of filament is what's being fed, and it's let me get Here it is. Here's our PLA filament.
That's the filament.
Yeah, so this is just plastic, and we feed this through the 3D printer. It goes into a section where it's very hot and it melts, and then the melted layer is put down onto a plate where it's built up one layer at a time. So if you haven't been able to witness 3D printing or know what exactly I'm talking about, if you just go to YouTube and there's plenty of time-lapse videos of things being 3D printed. And it's putting up layer by layer, I guess you're not saying layer by layer, tiny little layers to form an object. So I have here's something that I 3D printed, and it's a plate with it's actually a picture of my dog that I put through a program. That. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. So I made this with an LED backer, which is also 3D printed. You can kind of tell there's layers on my finger. So this is built up layer by layer. And this is just what was handy. This is when you put lights on, it's a lithopane. But with 3D printing, that's a basic consumer printer. And again, it usually uses the plastic. There's wood filament, there's food filament, 3D printed food, concrete for building and construction. The idea of 3D printing and 3D printing as a technology has actually been around for quite a while. Just the 3D printers used to be huge, and only accessible to big businesses. But they were used in things like rapid prototyping. So for in Hollywood, there's a lot of single-use props that would be commissioned. And now as costs come down and we have the consumer printers, people are printing lithopanes, of their pets, and just all kinds of fun things. And as we go into the future, they're 3D printing organs, I mean that's in its early stages. That's obviously not being used in any widespread sense, but the possibilities and the promises are just enormous. New organs for transplant. Just another exciting technology that I'm very excited about. But if you have anything to add about 3D printing, it's another one of those big topics.
It's a really big topic, and it has the potential over the long term to change a lot. I saw a video a while ago about a company 3D printing houses. We're talking about not gigantic houses, but fairly more like ADUs. So small houses for somebody's backyard, like a shed kind of, and they have just these gigantic printers in a huge kind of bunker warehouse, and they're just kind of there's just so it's the scale of it is monumental. But yeah, the possibilities for that, from anything from a lithopane of your dog to I mean, there's a lot of you can make hooks, and you can make little tools for the house, decorative pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, there's even with the consumer available 3D printers, you can really do a lot of stuff. Do you have any project recommendations involving 3D printing specifically for high school or undergraduate students? I don't have any specific ones. I would just say, look for a need. Look for something that even just would make your life at home a little bit easier, like, a hook somewhere, or some kind of a connection, or, something for a bag or a backpack, or, something to hold your towel, that kind of stuff, those kind of little things. And look for those and try to design the model, and then print it, because that takes you through a whole prototyping and studying stage. I mean, you're not just 3D printing. I mean, you're not just using the printer for what it's designed for, but you're using your eyes. You're trying to figure out what it would be. You're being creative, and you're actually doing something useful. So that, I mean, I would say that kind of thing would be where I'm going, rather than just 3D print this object.
Right. Find the utility in it,
Mhm.
and yeah, the possibilities are really endless.
Yeah, or grab a model from online, because there's websites that will allow you to grab models and adjust the model for something in some way that would be helpful, and then print it and use it. So it doesn't have to be something that somebody has to come up with something totally new and design something totally new. You can use something that is already out there, but get into it a little bit, get into the nitty-gritty of it. I think that would be something that would be helpful for high school or undergraduate students, because it really gets them thinking creatively and critically about what they're doing, rather than just loading a file and pressing print, which is what as easy as it can be with 3D printing. Oh, somebody said, ask ChatGPT if a 3D printer would be a good birthday present for my grandmother. I really want to do that. I really want to ask that. I'm going to ask that. Maybe Connor, you can get to the next question. Uh, any helpful directions how to get rid of yellow oxalis? I don't know what that means. I'm not sure what.
I'm not sure what was the word.
Yellow
It didn't sound familiar.
Oxalis. I don't know what that means. So I don't have any helpful directions for that. But I'm going to ask ChatGPT if a 3D printer would be a good present for a grandmother.
All right.
I kind of think I know what it's going to say. I think it's going to say it might be, depending on the kind of things that she's interested in, if she's interested in technology, etc. So
I think that would be I think that would be a really good human answer. So that will be a good comparison.
Let's see. Is 3D print would I'm crafting square. Would a 3D printer be a good birthday present for? Well, it doesn't. ChatGPT doesn't know my grandmother, so it wouldn't be able to say my grandmother. So it might be. I don't know if we want to say for an older adult, for a grandmother. I'm just going to put for a grandmother, because if I say my grandmother, it would say, I don't know your grandmother. So I can't give you the answer. Although what it does sometimes is it generalizes. So it'll say, while I don't know your grandmother, here are some things to consider. So let me just put my grandmother and see what happens. I should share my screen so you guys can see so you can see live what it's going to say. And we're going into this. So for the folks that are sticking around, thanks for being here. Take a ride with us. We're here for it. I know that. All right, so here's the ChatGPT window. And here, would a 3D printer be a good birthday present for my grandmother? Let's see what it says. I'll see. So it's starting to generalize here. So it says, whether a 3D printer would be a good birthday present for your grandmother depends on her interests and hobbies. 3D printers can be quite complex and may require technical knowledge to operate. So if your grandmother is not tech savvy or not interested in learning how to use one, it may not be the best gift for her. On the other hand, if your grandmother is interested in art, design, or engineering and enjoys working with her hands and creating things, a 3D printer would be a great gift. It could provide her with a new way to express her creativity and bring her ideas to life. Additionally, if your grandmother has a specific interest in creating items such as jewelry, small figurines, or other small objects, a 3D printer could be a useful tool to help her create these items. And then it talks about how it can be quite expensive, so budget-wise. But also, overall, a 3D printer can be a great gift for someone who is interested in creating things and is willing to learn how to use it. Yeah, so it gives kind of a general, it gives an answer as best as it could with the information that it has. So I don't know. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I really like that. I really
right.
like that answer. I was like that's a very human way to answer, in my opinion. And that's often our answers to a lot of these questions, is that it depends. So yeah, seeing that, I'm like, all right. You get 10 out of 10 on that answer, ChatGPT.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh, so yellow oxalis has invaded half my yard. How can I get rid of it? That's a question I'm going to let you ask ChatGPT. Because I've already asked ChatGPT a few questions, and since ChatGPT is free and available for anybody to use, I'm going to let you ask it how to get rid of yellow oxalis in your yard. And it'll probably give you a general answer about, maybe, I don't know if it'll give you a yellow oxalis specific answer, but you'll have to see. All right, so let's see, do I have any other questions? So I don't have any other questions in the chat at the moment. I'm glad we were able to go on a kind of a tour of ChatGPT and 3D printing and everything.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, so I don't have any other questions at the moment. So in that case, I'm going to go ahead and post the post-event survey in the chat right now. And we do appreciate if you take just a moment to fill out that post-event survey. It's very short, but very useful for us. I mean, we really appreciate when you take the time to fill out that survey. Give us suggestions for future programs. Tell us what you think of this program, what's good, what we can improve, all of the above. And if you want to sign up for locking down your data for next week, if you like this program and want more like it, or just want to hang out, you can always join us for like right around 11:35, 11:40 for the start of the Q&A. If you're just interested in the dialogue part, if you've seen the program before, you can just watch us answer questions, or struggle to answer questions. I don't know. Most of the time we can give some kind of answer. Sometimes we can't. We don't know everything. We don't know a lot. I don't know a lot. There's so much stuff out there, but it's fun to get the questions. All right, so let me go ahead and, so if you're interested in seeing our past programs, I'm going to also post a link to the digital literacy playlist. So we've been doing these weekly digital literacy classes on different topics since October of 2021. So we've done a lot of them. So you can always go to that YouTube playlist, the digital literacy playlist, and you can see the different programs that we've done and watch them at your leisure. And with that, I think we're about there. Connor, thank you very much for this presentation. This is my second time seeing it, and it's still, for me, it's still fresh and new. So, because these topics are so potent and relevant. So again, thank you. And thank you to all of the folks out there who have stuck with us here, asked your wonderful questions, and join us every week for digital literacy. I will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.